This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
The time 6:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited by Romesh Piris and read by Tilani Piris. The head of state says we'll create an education system that protects the dignity of labour aimed at creating a skilled society. Updated announcement on isolation orders. More coronavirus cases move total tally past 52,000. Clarification on cut-off marks for the scholarship exam. India gives radar spares equipment to the SLAF to augment maintenance support. Pakistani Prime Minister to visit Sri Lanka next week. And on international news, global death toll from COVID-19 tops 2 million. And on sports news, cricket, Australia versus India, Shardul Thakur and Washington Sundar lead fight back in Brisbane. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said a new education system that will protect the dignity of labour and aimed at creating a skilled society will be introduced in the new normal environment. The president said a national education policy has already been formulated to achieve rapid development as well as to meet expected economic goals in a short period of time. President Rajapaksa made these remarks participating at the official inauguration ceremony of registering the first batch of undergraduate students of Benedict XVI Catholic Institute of Higher Education in Negombo. The president also pointed out the importance of producing more technocrats in the future by converting all universities to smart learning universities. The president commended the progress made by the BCI campus under the guidance of His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjith, endowing the future with a generation empowered with technical knowledge, values, as well as with a correct vision. The National Operations Centre for Prevention of COVID-19 Outbreak, Head of Army Commander General Shavendra Silva has issued an updated announcement on the isolation status of several areas. Accordingly, the following areas will be no longer under isolation with immediate effect. In the Kalutara Police Division, an area of 725 Kalutara South, Grama Niladari Division, 725A Kalutara South, Grama Niladari Division, an area of 725B, Velapura Gramadari Division, 727 Mahavatta Grama Niladari Division, 727B, Kudahi Natiyangala Division, except for Mafur Crescent, 727C, Kurunduwatta Grama Niladari Division, 727E, Akkaregoda Grama Niladari Division, 730 Vettumakanda South, Grama Niladari Division, an area of 730A, Kalapua Grama Niladari Division, an area of 730B, Katukurunda Grama Niladari Division. And in the Beruwala Police Division, 743A, Akkaramali Grama Niladari Division. However, the following areas have been placed under isolation with immediate effect. In the Minuangoda Police Division, North Gallolua Grama Niladari Division, West Gallolua Grama Niladari Division, and in the Matale Police Division, 356 Varakamura Grama Niladari Division, 356B Middenia Grama Niladari Division, and Mattava village of 356A Dehipitia Grama Niladari Division. The number of COVID-19 cases confirmed in the country has risen to 53,000. The number of COVID-19 cases confirmed in the country has risen to 52,313 following the detection of 719 patients yesterday. Among yesterday's cases, 697 were identified as contacts of the Minuangoda Paliogoda COVID-19 cluster. 18 cases were also identified from prisons across the country. Accordingly, the Minuangoda Paliogoda COVID-19 cluster has increased to 48,525. The epidemiology unit of the Ministry of Health said 7,311 persons, including foreigners, are currently receiving treatment for coronavirus at 65 facilities across the country. Yesterday, 487 persons who recovered from COVID-19 were discharged from hospitals, raising the number of recoveries in the country to 44,746. Meanwhile, the total fatality count due to the coronavirus pandemic rose to 256 cases. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
HDFC Smart Goals. All it takes is 3 years.
The Indian Air Force gifted 341 Indra radar spares worth 200 million rupees to the Sri Lanka Air Force to augment maintenance support for 4 Indra Mk2 air surveillance radars gifted to Sri Lanka Air Force by the Indian government in 2011. Indian High Commission said an Indian Air Force AN-32 aircraft landed at the Bandaranaike International Airport on 10th January as part of India's commitment to maintain high serviceability of weapons and equipment provided by the Government of India to the Sri Lankan Armed Forces. The handing over ceremony of air defence equipment and Indra Mk2 radar spares equipment was conducted yesterday at the SLAF base Katunayake with the participation of the Indian High Commissioner Gopal Bagle and Commander of the Air Force, Air Marshal Sudarshana Patirana. Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan is scheduled to pay an official visit to Sri Lanka next week. The Minister of Foreign Affairs stated that the visiting Pakistani Prime Minister will stay in Sri Lanka for 5 days. This is the first visit of a Pakistan leader to Sri Lanka since 2016, following the then Prime Minister of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif. That ends local news for now.
Darling, our daughter has top O-level results. Do you know what this means?
Yes, just 3 years and she'll be going abroad for her degree.
For which we'll need a bank loan.
But is a normal loan the smartest option?
What else?
The smartest way is to start an HDFC Smart Goals account.
Let your child begin their degree with no delays. Start an HDFC Smart Goals account. Call 2356 888.
Honey, you're so smart.
HDFC Smart Goals. All it takes is 3 years.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddhalepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddhalepa, the Veda Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
The Minister of Trade, Bandula Gunawardena, demands clarification from education authorities regarding the procedure for issuing school cut-off marks for the Grade 5 Scholarship Examination 2020. The Minister stated that there is no transparency in the methodology for classifying popular schools and issuing cut-off marks. He added that these decisions are made according to the wishes of forces unknown to parents, children or teachers. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
And on Watch Light this evening, the Director General of Health Services has granted approval to resume tuition classes and issued instructions to be followed. Accordingly, tuition classes are permitted to function in all provinces except in the Western Province from January 25th. The senior health official said, as per the request, initially tuition classes were only to be conducted for GC ordinary level and advanced level students. Also, the maximum number of students in a class should be limited from 50% to 100% of the seats available per session. That came to you in Watchlight.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of From the first step you take till the time we meet, the trusted leader prioritizes you always.
All you need under one roof. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
World News headlines first. Global death toll from COVID-19 tops 2 million. U.S. capitals gird for pro-Trump armed protests as FBI flags risk of violence. UK to host G7 summit face-to-face in June. The latest global death toll from COVID-19 topped 2 million as vaccines developed at breakneck speed are being rolled out around the world in an all-out campaign to vanquish the threat. The milestone was reached just over a year after the coronavirus was first detected in the Chinese city of Wuhan. The number of dead compiled by Johns Hopkins University is about equal to the population of Brussels, Mecca, Minsk or Vienna. It is roughly equivalent to the population of the Cleveland metropolitan area or the entire state of Nebraska. While the count is based on figures supplied by government agencies around the world, the real toll is believed to be significantly higher, in part because of inadequate testing and the many fatalities that were inaccurately attributed to other causes, especially early in the outbreak. Protesters are expected to descend on state houses across the United States today in support of baseless claims that electoral fraud robbed President Donald Trump of a second term, as law enforcement officials girded for possible violence. More than a dozen states have activated the National Guard troops to help secure their Capitol buildings following an FBI warning of armed protests, with right-wing extremists emboldened by the deadly siege at the U.S. Capitol in Washington on January 6th. While many states have erected fences or other barriers to secure their capitals, the FBI and other federal agencies have warned of the potential for future violence as white supremacists and other extremists look to exploit frustration among Trump supporters who have bought into falsehoods about electoral fraud. Britain has announced a plan to hold an in-person G7 summit meeting in June in a seaside village in Cornwall, southwestern England. Britain, the G7's current president, will host the meeting from June 11th to the 13th in Carbis Bay. The meeting is going to bring together leaders of 7 industrialized nations face-to-face for the first time in about 2 years. The United States, which was last year's G7 host, did not hold an in-person meeting due to the coronavirus pandemic. Back to the world news headlines. Global death toll from COVID-19 tops 2 million. U.S. capitals gird for pro-Trump armed protests as FBI flags risk of violence. UK to host G7 summit face-to-face in June. That ends World News.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
From the first step you take till the time we meet, the trusted leader prioritizes you always.
All you need under one roof. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
And on development news, the Kuwaiti government has allowed entry of newly recruited domestic helpers from labor-exporting countries such as Sri Lanka, the Philippines, India and elsewhere starting from today. Sri Lanka continues to send domestic helpers to Kuwait, but they only represent around 11% of the total domestic helper population. Kuwait had allowed the return of domestic helpers with valid visas, but was stuck abroad starting December 7th, 2020. On Thursday, aviation authorities announced launching an online platform named Bel Salama to facilitate the return of domestic workers from so-called high-risk countries, in line with specific procedures and mechanisms that take into account the required health measures. That came to you in development news, and now we continue with sports news, and it's cricket. Australia versus India, Shardul Thakur and Washington Sundar lead fight back in Brisbane. A remarkable fight back from India on day 3 in Brisbane kept them in the decisive 4th test against Australia. The tourists slipped to 186 for 6 in the decisive 4th test. In reply to Australia's 369, at that stage were facing a substantial first innings deficit. But Shardul Thakur and Washington Sundar, who have played on one previous test between them, put on 123 in a brilliant 7th wicket stand. Thakur made 67 and Sundar 62 as they whittled down Australia's lead before India were eventually bowled out for 336, just 33 behind the hosts. Australia openers David Warner and Marcus Harris faced an awkward 20 minutes late in the day but closed on 21 runs for no wickets at stumps. Continuing with cricket. Meanwhile, Jack Leach's first 5-wicket haul left England chasing just 74 to win in the first test in Galle. Leach, who came into this game having played just 2 first-class games in the last 14 months, looked a dangerous proposition with his drift and turn troubling the right-handers. Session 3 on day 4 in the first test in Galle determined Sri Lanka were bowled out for 359 in their second innings with Lahiru Thirimana for 111 and Angelo Matthews for 71 runs, leaving England 74 runs to win the first encounter. Short while ago, when the match was stopped due to bad light, England were 38 for the loss of 3 wickets, requiring 36 runs to win the match. That ends Sports News. Continuing with business news, the national carrier Sri Lankan Airlines has been awarded Platinum Standard status by Apex Health Safety, powered by Simplifying. The status was awarded following a full independent audit for the airline's efforts in ensuring the highest standards for passenger safety and well-being during air travel post-COVID. The Platinum Standard status recognizes airlines that go above and beyond minimum standards required to rebuild traveler confidence. That was business news.
Economic news, courtesy of...
Congratulations on your promotion. When will be our treat, huh?
How about today?
Oh no, I was just joking.
It's fine. I have my LOLC credit card with me. Let's go out today.
Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
Coming up, economic news. According to Bloomberg data, the main index of the Colombo Stock Exchange, the All Share Price Index, has been ranked as the second best performing stock index in the world as of 13th January 2021, with a positive price return of 9.88%. In a Twitter message, State Minister for Money, Capital Markets and Public Enterprises Reform, Adit Niwad Kabral, stated that he is naturally pleased Bloomberg has called the Colombo Stock Exchange as the second best performing equity market in the world, and added that he is truly humbled by the confidence displayed by investors in the Sri Lankan economy. That ends economic news.
Hello, Puta. Did you land already?
No, Amma. We're in transit and our flight got delayed.
Oh, really? How is Shani? Poor thing with her pregnancy. She might be feeling very uncomfortable. The airport must be heavily crowded because it's a season.
Amma, calm down. Everything is sorted. Why, I have my LOLC World Card with me. We are at the VIP lounge. There's nothing to worry. Those who spread goodness radiate happiness to everyone around them. Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
And to conclude the weather report, the Meteorological Department forecasts several spells of showers in the northern, north-central, eastern and Uva provinces and in the Matale and Hambantota districts. The Met Department predicts fairly heavy falls, about 100 millimeters, in the Sabaragama province and in the Galle and Mathura districts. The general public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. That was the weather report. And now to end this news broadcast, the main points once again. The head of state says will create an education system that protects the dignity of labour aimed at creating a skilled society. Updated announcement on isolation orders. More coronavirus cases move total tally past 52,000. Clarification on cut-off marks for the scholarship exam. India gives radar spares equipment to the SLAF to augment maintenance support. Pakistani Prime Minister to visit Sri Lanka next week. And on international news, global death toll from COVID-19 tops 2 million. And on sports news, cricket, Australia versus India, Shardul Thakur and Washington Sundar lead fight back in Brisbane. That ends this news broadcast.